Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion here from Pink Whisper Designs. I hope you're all having a great day. Today I thought I'd show you how I made this little lawn fawn lift the flap card. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by taking these two dies here. The first one is the outside in stitched rectangle stackable die, and it is the largest one from that collection. And then I'm going to take the lift the flap die, also the largest one. So we're going to use for paper the cardstock, Mermaid cardstock from Lawn Fawn in the 100-pound weight. And I'm going to go ahead and run that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. And you'll see that I cut 2 panels of that Mermaid cardstock. For the first one, we're going to place that lift the flap die right in the center there. I'm taping it down with a little bit of iCraft purple tape. And we're running that through, and you'll see that it creates that matching stitch border to the outside edge. Now I'm going to grab my bone folder, and you can see that score line there that it creates, and I'm just going to press that out a little bit. So now you have this cute little flap. Now that other panel is going to fit right behind that flap panel. So now from this die set, I'm going to grab the smaller of the mountain borders and the snow caps. And this is called the Stitched Mountain Border Set from Lawn Fawn. And I'm going to do the snow caps on some scrap white paper. And then for the mountaintop, I'm going to use this gray paper from the Neutrals collection, also in a 100-pound weight. So I'm just taping that down with some purple tape. And then for this piece here, it's about a 3-inch wide panel, and I'm just going to tape it up towards the top because I'm not sure where that's going to fit in my flap yet. So I'm going to run those two through, and now I have everything die cut. And I want this sentiment, Blue Skies Ahead, from the Blue Skies stamp set. And now I've placed the mountain range on my Misty, and I'm trying to figure out where that sentiment is going to show through. So I'm just trying to line things up here. So now I've grabbed the sentiment. I'm trying to see exactly where all that is going to be placed. So now I can remove that flap panel and put my magnets in place and pick up this stamp that says Blue Skies Are Ahead. And I'm going to go ahead and ink that up with my Versamark watermark ink pad, and this is a pigment ink. So we're going to do some embossing here. And I'm going to go ahead and press that out. I made sure I inked it up really well. And now I'm going to grab some scrap paper here. And this is the Nuvo Fine Detail Embossing Powder in the Glacier White. And this is great for sentiments that have a lot of detail. It's very easy to work with it. It's not too thick. And now I'm going to grab my heat gun, and I'm going to go ahead and heat set that. So now I just wanted to attach all of those little snow caps to each of these little mountain tops. And we're only going to need those 4 in the center. The 2 on either end are going to get cut away in a minute here. So I'm just using the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to tape those, or to glue those in place. And now that that's all set, I wanted to show you quickly this mono sand eraser from Tombow will sand off any little areas that you might have gotten a smudge, or in this case I had a little bit of embossing powder that stuck in a place where I didn't want it to be. So I just used the little sanding eraser, and it will remove it. So now the next thing I want to do is line up this mountain range under the panel here, and I'm just going to cut away the excess that I don't need. And now I'm going to take the Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to go ahead and create a little bit of a darker shadow behind that mountain range there. So I just kind of sped this up so you could see what I did, but it's very simple blending. I just applied a nice thick coat of that ink right along that edge there, and then I'm just going to blend it out. It'll give the paper kind of an ombre effect, just from darker to a little bit lighter. And here I'm just pulling the color up, And then you'll see that then I go back in and just blend a little bit more. So the key is really just making sure you do enough blending so that you don't have like a line or streaks, and this ink makes it really easy to do blending. It blends really simply. So now here, without re-inking my applicator tool, I'm just going to add a little bit along the inside of that panel there, just towards the bottom. And then what I want to do now is ink the front panel to match the inside. So I'm coming up from the bottom, going about halfway up, and I'm just going to apply again a nice dark coating of that ink, and then I'm going to blend it out. And I really love how this ink goes really well with this paper, and it blends beautifully. And now I just want to see where that mountain range is going to fit behind that flap. And I'm just marking with a pencil so that I know where to position it back in place once I've put my adhesive on there. So I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive all over the back of this little mountain range and attach it here. So now that fits right behind there. So I'm going to take this top panel with the flap on it, and I'm going to apply some Scotch foam mounting tape around the four sides of it. And I have the 1-inch tape here, so I'm just cutting it in half. But you could certainly use your 1/2-inch tape, and it would fit in there just perfectly, actually. So now I've got that all set and ready. I'm going to set that aside and grab the sticky note yellow paper from Lawn Fawn. And then I'm grabbing that watercolor Wishes paper from the Petite paper pad. And we're going to be using some of those other colors in a little while. But for now, I'm going to grab that yellow one. And I'm going to die cut this sun out of the yellow. And this comes from the Spring Showers collection of dies. And then I'm also going to grab these cloud dies. And I did end up grabbing the larger one as well off camera. And I'm going to die cut those out of some white cardstock. So now I'm going to grab my Sizzix Sidekick machine. And I'm going to go ahead and run those through. So now for the yellow, I did die cut the watercolor paper and the yellow paper, the sticky note yellow paper as well. And I'm just going to glue those two together. I just wanted the embellishment to be a little bit thicker, just to have a little bit more substance to it. So I'm just going to glue those two pieces together. I'm just going to place an acrylic block on that and let it dry. Now from that same paper pack, I selected the pink. And I'm going to grab this airplane and this sentiment, plain and simple, and a little smoke. And this is from the Plain and Simple die and stamp set. So now this little banner is from the Magic Color Slider. And I'm going to die cut the pink paper with this banner. And then I'm going to go ahead and place that in my MISTI. Now I did use a little bit of the Tombow tape to place behind it just to hold it in place for me. And then I positioned my Plain and Simple stamps on the MISTI stamp positioner. And I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. So now that I have that, I'm going to grab a piece of white cardstock, just some scrap paper here, and I'm going to place glue all over the pink banner, and then I'm going to glue it to the white cardstock here. What I'm going to do is just kind of create a little bit of a layer for this banner here. So I'm just trying to place it straight and attaching it down, and then I'm going to use my Tim Holtz tonic trimmer just to trim that down. And then I'm going to grab my scissors here, and I'm just going to clip this just in towards that center of that V shape there, and then cut in from each side, leaving the same amount of border all the way around the edges here. And I'm going to do the same exact thing for the other side here. And that just again gave this a little bit more layering to it. So now I want this cute little bunny here. And this is from the Upon a Star collection. And the coordinating dies for this as well. And then to stamp, I'm going to use the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. So I'm just going to place that little bunny on an acrylic block. And again, going back to my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. And then I'm going to position the coordinating die on there and tape that down with some purple tape. Now I ran that through my die cutting machine, and to color I'm going to use 800, N00, and N95. These are the Tombow water-based markers, and this is just a light gray here that I'm starting with. And you can hardly see it. It was a very quick coloring, not a lot of time spent on this. And then a little pink for the cheeks and the nose. And then the N00 is the blender brush, the blender pen, and I'm just going to go ahead and blend that out a little bit. Again, not a lot here, and I'll try to show you this in a minute, but it is very hard to see. Just adding a little more pink there to the nose. So now you can see that a little bit closer there. So now we're going to decorate that front panel. I've got the sun. I'm going to go ahead and put my Nouveau Deluxe adhesive all around the back of that panel. And I'm just going to attach that right in the center of that flap. And then the next thing I want to do is take that little banner and I'm going to apply a little bit of foam mounting tape to the back of that. And that's going to get popped up right in the center of the sun there. Now, the next thing we're going to grab here is the little cloud, and again, we're going to pop that up with some foam mounting tape. And I wanted to keep the front of this panel fairly simple because I like the little saying, plain and simple. So now I'm just going to grab that little bunny, and he's going to be looking up at that banner and at the sun. Now the last thing I decided to add was these little birds, and these are from the Happy Village set. I grab these a lot. They're great for giving you some depth and perspective, and these will be tiny little birds in the background. So I'm taking the black ink again, and I'm just going to stamp those in the corner, and I just tested it on some scrap paper first, and you can see that adds a lot, I think. So now I want this little airplane and the little puffs. And this is from the Plain and Simple collection. And I'm going to grab again the black ink. I'm going to stamp the airplane quite a few times here. Once on the white cardstock. And then we're going to do some paper piecing rather than coloring. So I'm going to stamp it again on the pink, the same watercolor pink we used before. And then I'm going to stamp it on some green as well. And then what I want to do for the little wheel is stamp it on some of that gray paper we used before from the neutral paper pack. Same gray we used on the little mountain range there. So now I'm going to also on the white paper stamp these little puffs of smoke here. I'm going to grab my dies for the airplane and this little smoke, and I'm again taping them down, and then I ran them through my machine. And now for the coloring, I decided to just do paper piecing instead. And I'm going to just cut the body of the plane out of the pink. And this is really simple cutting here, not a lot. The other little pieces are a little tinier, but with some patience you can get it done. And sometimes I just like to do the paper piecing if I want it to exactly match the papers that I'm using. And we will be adding a plaid paper to this card in a little while, and I wanted all the papers to coordinate. So now I'm just going to glue that down, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of the pieces that I need. So for the tire, I'm just cutting the little tire out of the gray cardstock. Now, if you find it easier just to color these in, that's just as easy. I just thought this might be fun and a little bit different. I'm just cutting the little propeller out of the green cardstock, and I'll be cutting the rest of the little pieces out of the green as well. And I went ahead and attached those in place, and the last piece I have here is that little back panel, the little rudder on the back, I guess you'd call it. So I'm going to glue that one down as well. So you can see how cute that looks. Now, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and put those little birds up in the corner of the front of the flap when you open it. So I want to make sure that I'm in the right direction here. So what I was doing here was making sure that the flap opens, and you're going to see those birds up at the top left-hand corner of the flap there. So now I've got those clouds that I die cut. So I'm going to take the largest one first. Now I'm just gluing these flat because I didn't want to get it to get too bulky inside here in this flap. So I am just going to glue these down flat. And I'm doing the next largest cloud as well. And then the little tiny one I'm going to put down below a little bit. And I thought this was kind of fun to add a little interest to the upper part of the panel as well. So now those are going to just dry, and now I'm going to attach this whole thing to this bottom panel here, just removing the backing from the tape. I'm just going to line those two right up here. So now you can see we have a little bit of dimension there. And now I'm going to go ahead and attach the airplane and the little puffs of smoke to the inside panel here. So I went ahead and glued those down in place here. Now what I want to do is take my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and I'm just going to add a little glittery sparkle to the clouds, the little tail on the bunny there. And then again on all these clouds inside, and I just sped this up so you could quickly see where I applied the little glittery effect, and a little bit on the airplane, and all of those little mountain tops. And I have to say that added a lot. I love sparkle, so I use any excuse to put more on there. So now for the card itself, I'm going to take the Perfectly Plaid Spring Paper Pack, that little plaid there on the left. And this is from the 6x6 paper pack collection. And I've already cut my card, a white card, to a standard A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And this panel is the same size, so it's going to fit completely on this card. And I'm going to go ahead and tape that in place. Now this panel will fit on the card, leaving about a 1/4 inch of that plaid showing all the way around. And that'll tie in all the papers that we used on the card and on the airplane as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and attach that, and I did use glue there just to make sure I could move it around a little bit if I needed to. So now you have this beautiful front with the glittery cloud. It says plain and simple, blue skies are ahead. I just think this would be so great for like a get well card, or if someone's feeling a little bit down or blue, this might be a great card to send. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.